anybody who's been held in those conditions in captivity for 5 years has paid an extraordinary price. But that is really not the point. The point is that he's back. He's going to be safely reunited with his family. He served the United States with honor and distinction.
All right, you know, we've talked about this almost ad nauseum today, but I can't, if I hear this a million times, I'll never understand it. Joining us now is Congressman Steve Stockman, a Republican from the great state of Texas, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And Congressman, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Steve. I appreciate you taking the time.
No, I appreciate you. And the truth be known, the folks out there, you had to change. We kept you waiting, so I appreciate you sticking around. All right, I want to start with this and then move to other aspects and other things, including the EPA. But, I mean, how is it possible? Lindsey Graham earlier in the show said she should be replaced. He called for her to be replaced by Obama as National Security Advisor. How could she say he served with distinction and honor when she, as National Security Advisor, has to know all the circumstances?
Well, what's hilarious is you got the defense guy, the chief, Hagel, saying, hey, let's not make any snap judgments, when in fact they're the ones making the snap judgments, giving away 5 terrorists to kill Americans for a guy who his platoon leader this morning said he considered him a traitor. So I don't know where she's coming off that she's making snap judgments. She turns around and tells others they can't make, quote, snap judgments.
I'll give you something worse. They're starting to trash the soldiers. White House aides told Chuck Todd of NBC News today they didn't realize that the sergeant would be swift-boated, and the State Department spokesperson and some others, Roger Simon at Politico, they're starting to say, well, this happened 5 years ago, so you can't rely on these soldiers' memories. They may be blurred a little bit. You got to be kidding me.
No, if they were blurred, why would they ask him to sign non-disclosure agreements? This is a pure political play. Now, I want to put, Steve, something in context that people forgot about. When we passed a bill to delay Obamacare for a radical 1 year, which turned out exactly what Obama ended up doing unilaterally, he called John Boehner a terrorist and would not negotiate with him.
Yep.
But now we have terrorists. We call the Teen T's. We don't call them terrorists anymore. And they released them into the mainstream, and he negotiated with terrorists. So we have a president where left is right, right is left. You know, he's got everything backwards, and we're supposed to sit here and drink the Kool-Aid. They're saying, don't make snap judgments. Let us make the snap judgments.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, this is something that irritates me. People forget. They call Republicans terrorists, holding hostage, the guns that they had, all this name-calling, and refused to negotiate. And then when they didn't get their way, the first people they punished was the military. They stood guard in front of a memorial that doesn't have any barricades. They put up the barricades and guards, which aren't normally there. So we had to spend money to shut it down as opposed to just leaving it open. Yeah. This guy, president, apparently has a grudge against the military and the American people. He let go 5 terrorists onto the United States, and we're supposed to sit there and be happy about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on your analysis there. And also, I think it's important to talk about the Marine, the active duty Marine who's being held in Mexico, who was chained like a dog to his bed for the world to see. His mother was on this show last Friday and said, I thought Mexico was an ally. And we haven't heard that man's name cross the lips of this president. John Kerry, when he was asked about it, said, oh, we brought it up to the Mexican government. It's a disgrace that this man could be held in that prison and we do nothing about it. Yet this guy, questionable background, to put it mildly, was released in exchange for 5 hardened terrorists.
Well, I guess, you know, maybe our suggestion is we should exchange Susan Rice for our military man in Mexico.
That's an interesting trade. That's an interesting trade. Reminds me of a baseball trade when the Mets traded Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi. I won't say who's who.
Steve, listen, let me tell you something. Here's another thing, too. It was called, I'm trying to remember, the foundation out of Dallas, who gave money to Hamas. They went to prison for funding the terrorist group Hamas. Yet our president has given $440 million to Hamas. And is now recognizing Hamas when they joined forces with the West Bank government.
Yeah, the new unity government, absolutely, yep.
Yeah, so we have, in the first time in history, the president is breaking the law when he funds Hamas. It is against the law to do that, and yet we took taxpayers' dollars, almost $500 million, to give to terrorists. This propensity to fall again and again on the side of terrorists. He did the same thing in Egypt. He sided with the Muslim Brotherhood and attacked the guys who are pro-American.
Congressman, Libya. Look what happened. And now in Syria, I had one military expert yesterday tell me that if we continue supporting the people we're supporting in Syria and they overthrow Assad, Al-Qaeda and the worst of the worst are going to be in charge in Syria, and that's who we're supporting. Is there not a pattern?
Well, you know, a lot of people say he's not something, we can't say it on the radio, but if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, I think it might be a duck.
I don't know why. I'm not calling it anything except a pattern.
No, the pattern's there that he has sympathies that are not, I don't think, traditional American values. It is bizarre. I mean, to release 5 people who swore their oath to murder Americans for some individual that had questioned, who, by the way, walked off, according to some of his colleagues, fellow soldiers, with a compass and asking to look for a
translator. Yeah, he wanted someone who could speak English and to take him to the Taliban. He had a camera. We're finding out today the Taliban identified in their report this guy's got a camera. Who knows what he had in the camera? There's all kinds of accusations. He was ashamed to be an American. He trashed his fellow troops. I mean, like you said, if it walks and it quacks. Now, I'm not making a judgment, but I love the people who say we can't judge when everybody judge. We judge cases while they're being tried. We talk about it, so we're talking about it.
Exactly, and people say they don't judge. Trust me, if you have a teenage daughter and some guy shows up that was questionable, you're judging.
Yeah, well, I have a teenage son, so I don't have to deal with that, fortunately. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about what Obama is doing to the coal industry, the jobs it's going to cost. I mean, he might be doing Republicans a favor in the short term in states like West Virginia, Kentucky, and others. But this clamping down on this under this guise of global warming. You know, he did his radio address on Saturday from a children's hospital, and everything as he called for the end to climate change, and he must do this and he must do that. It's all for the children, for the children. You know, throughout history, that's been a mantra.
You know what? The Chinese are building 1 new coal plant a day. And this whole, say we waved a wand and this place implemented his policies, it would jack up the price of electricity in some states as much as 40%. Even at EPA's lowest estimates say that the coal industry is going to lose at least 30%. This is what happened when we, quote, saved the spot oil, which later we found out was a bogus claim, and they lost tons of jobs in that area. And now Obama's carrying the war on America, not the war on coal, but the war on America continues, and the destruction of our industries. And I'm from a state which, hey, we're going to make more money because we're fracking, we're cracking and producing lots of gas, and we'll make more money. But this is a destruction of an industry that's throughout the United States. Most electricity comes from coal. It's not causing a problem, and it's even the experts say that it's nominal if this policy goes into effect in terms of affecting any kind of impact on, quote, climate change, which is questionable in itself. Yeah,
and Congressman, you know, for anybody who cared, and the media certainly didn't care, when he was running the first time, he did an interview and he said, and I'm almost quoting verbatim, by definition, my policies will cause electricity rates to skyrocket. He also said, I don't mind $7, $8 a gallon gas like in Europe, I just don't want it to happen too fast. So we're getting what we paid for.
Yeah, and ironically, the young people who overwhelmingly voted for Obama now are getting taxed on Obamacare because they're supposed to take their school lunch money and their phone bill money, as he said, and buy Obamacare. It's kind of ironic. They're like, wait a minute. We thought this was free.
Yeah.
Goes,
not only that, they never heard of the word deductible. So if they do get insurance and they go to the doctor and they get a bill for the full amount, they'll say, wow, what are you talking about? I got insurance.
Yeah, we spent almost $1 trillion insuring very few people. In reality, most of the people, it turns out, are signing up for Obamacare are either totally indigent or they got kicked off their insurance
Right.
and they had to go buy it.
Congressman, again, thank you for accommodating us, and great to talk to you, sir.
A great show. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Appreciate it. All right, Congressman Steve Stockman, ladies and gentlemen. Let's exchange Susan Rice for our Marine being held in Mexico. Now, if that one doesn't make news, I don't know what will. What made me say it reminds me of a trade? I don't even know why I said it, because I'd have to think of there's no analogy, obviously, so I didn't mean any hard analogy by it. But let's see, Jim Fregosi, Nolan Ryan. I would say that our Marine is Nolan Ryan and Susan Rice is Jim Fregosi. So that would mean that we would be getting the much better of the deal. I'll buy that. Now I've analyzed it. Now I've put forward. That must be why I said it, because it does make sense. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Give me fives next.